Hi, good afternoon. Can you introduce yourself?
My name is Cody.
Okay, so the first question is, how do franchise owners in Malaysia and other places around the world deal with the effects of global boycotts?
I think franchise owners in Malaysia and worldwide often deal with global boycotts by diversifying their markets.
Okay, so the second question is, how has the boycott impact employment opportunities for young people in Malaysia, and what measures can companies take to support affected job seekers?
The boycott may reduce employment opportunities for young people due to the decreased business activities. I think companies should support affected job seekers by offering internships and expanding into new markets.
Can you give a few examples of which companies in Malaysia that should do that?
McDonald's, Infineon.
Okay, so this leads us to the third question. How do you think the Prime Minister's strong pro Hamas stance will affect public opinion within Malaysia, particularly among non Muslims and liberals?
I think the Prime Minister's strong pro Hamas stance could polarize public opinion, potentially leading to more pronounced divisions amongst non Muslims and liberals who may disagree with the opinions.
Okay, so how do you think does the younger generation Malaysians perceive the government's position on the Israel-Palestine conflict?
Er, I think the younger Malaysians may perceive the government's position on the Palestine Israel conflict with varying degrees of support of criticism, probably influenced by their access to information and personal experience.
For your own opinion, what is your own opinion towards Palestine and Israel conflict?
Uh, I think no matter what happens in conflicts like this, people like us just want world peace. So there's no right or wrong.
Okay, interesting. So, the next question, how do the business communities and people in Malaysia generally feel about the potential economic effects of the tense relationship between the US and Malaysia?
Uh, the business community and people in Malaysia may feel concerned about the economic effects of strained US Malaysia relations, potentially impacting trade, investment, and employment.
Okay, so in your opinion, how effectively have local and national governments responded to the economic challenges posed by the pandemic, which is COVID 19?
The effectiveness of local and national governments' responses to the pandemic could be seen in measures like lockdown, vaccination drives, and probably incentives to small businesses and the lower class.
So, what measures do you think should be taken to better prepare for and respond to future global crises based on the experiences from the COVID 19 pandemic?
I think the government should strengthen healthcare systems, probably diversify their economies more, and probably focus more on improving crisis response coordination.
Okay, so the next question, how has the cost of living in Malaysia changed in recent years? And what factors do you believe are contributing to these changes?
The cost of living in Malaysia has definitely increased after the pandemic in recent years, especially probably due to factors like inflation, currency fluctuations, and rising prices of goods and services.
Okay, so the second last question. How has the coronavirus pandemic changed your personal financial situation or spending habits over the past few years?
I feel like the pandemic has led me to reevaluate my own spending habits with reducing some of my expenses due to our uncertainty and other facing financial strains.
Okay, so the last question. In what ways do you feel the economic challenges of 2023 have affected local businesses and employment opportunities in Malaysia?
I feel like the economic challenges of 2023 have likely affected local businesses by reducing consumer spending and limiting job opportunities, emphasizing the need for economic diversification and resilience strategies.
Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so good afternoon. Can you please introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Jasmine. I'm in my third semester.
Okay, thank you. So we're gonna have the interview, and I'm going to ask you the first question. So the first question is, how do franchise owner in Malaysia and the other places around the world deal with the effects of global boycotts?
I don't think Malaysian solo franchise owners are really affected by the boycotts. I think the recent movement of boycotts are mostly targeting big companies, and I don't think owners, like small business owners in Malaysia, are really affected. I think they are mostly benefited from the boycotts of these companies as more people come to eat at their stores. Other than that, I think mm, I think franchise owners are kind of forced to make stances that the people want, so that more people come and eat at their restaurants.
Okay, so this lead to the second question, right? How has the boycott impact the employment opportunities for young people in Malaysia, and what are the measures that the companies can take to support the affected job seekers?
I think the employment sector does take a marginal hit. I think that many workers have lost their jobs if they were employed by franchise owners. But I think that it's one of the necessary things that have to happen with big movements like this. And what was the second part of the
And
question?
what do you think the companies can do about it to help the local employees?
I think the companies just need to make a stand, and uh, companies need to make a stand and give the people what they want. Also, I think this should urge people who want to work for other businesses whose morals do align with them.
Okay, thank you. So, the next question, how do you think the Prime Minister's strong pro-Hamas stance will affect the public's opinion within Malaysia, particularly among non-Muslim and liberals?
How do you think the Prime Minister's strong pro-Hamas stance will affect? I think the Prime Minister's strong Hamas stance will affect the opinion of the public. I'm sorry. Will affect the opinion of the public in Malaysia in a good way. It shows that we do have strong standing morals in terms of like genocide and stuff. But I think it does urge non-Muslims and liberals to find out more about what's happening around the world. And I hope this encourages the Prime Minister to care about more things outside of Muslim issues.
Okay, so what do you think about like the younger generations of Malaysian? They perceive the government's position on the Israel and Palestine conflict.
I think the younger generation of Malaysians are very strong standing about it in a sense where they condemn Israel to the max. Um, I think that is a good thing as well because we do have social media and things. I guess we in that sense we are also more susceptible to fake news, but I do think with the rise of social media, we do get to know more of what is actually happening and what the real news is. So I think that the younger generation is being smart and is taking a good stance in this whole issue.
So, as yourself, as a young generation, do you do anything to support this event or you stay neutral?
For me, as a young generation, I do support um, Palestine in this conflict, and my degree of support is very simple, and I think many people should do it, which is just simply boycotting these companies whose morals are not aligned with myself. And I think like that is honestly the easiest thing to do. It's because it's basically not doing something. Yes, that's it.
Okay, thank you. So, we proceed to the next topic. How do the business communities and people in Malaysia generally feel about the potential economic effects of the tense relationship between the US and Malaysia?
Mm, I think business communities they do feel very pressured and very stressed about the economic effects, but I don't think it would affect Malaysian business owners very much as it's just inside Malaysia and it's mostly in the vacuum of this country. But with bigger franchises, I think they are affected economic wise, and I think they urge the government to have better relationships with first world countries.
Okay, so as we all know, the pandemic is just over, right?
Yes.
But the economic um, situation in Malaysia, I feel like is still not going as good as before.
Mm-hmm.
So, in your opinion, how effectively have local and national governments responded to the economic challenges posed by the pandemic?
Um, I think it's okay. I think that local and national governments have I think it's okay. I think local and national governments have responded very well to the challenges posted, and I also think the individual has done a very good job in handling the problems that arise. So I think it's just based to up for the individual. It's based up to creativities, so they can maybe set up an e-commerce business. And yes, I see many challenges, but I think to survive in this world, it is something that must be done.
Okay,
Nationally, I think there should be a better job done in terms of like reparations and stuff like that. Yeah.
okay. So, based on your answers, what measures do you think should be taken to better prepare for and respond to future global crises based on the experiences from COVID-19?
I think we should based on the experience from COVID-19, I think Malaysia has done a very good job in terms of like health. So in terms of flattening the curve, making sure everyone is inside and keeping the COVID cases to a minimum. I think Malaysia did do a very good job in that. But recovering, I think we could do a better job in kind of encouraging more people to go out and make sure our local economy is still moving. Yeah.
Okay, so for your own experience, how has the cost of living in Malaysia changed in recent years, and what factors do you believe are contributing to these changes?
I think cost of living in Malaysia has increased. Based on my little experience though, as I still live with my parents and stuff like that, but based on what I see, I think it's becoming increasingly harder to survive just groceries and stuff. And I think one of the factors is obviously the price of the ringgit dropping, the cost of ringgit dropping. If we want to import things, it has become much more expensive, but I also think the cost of living has increased, but the minimum wage hasn't increased that much. So I think that is also one of the factors that make it harder for people to live in this country.
Okay, so for your own experience, how did the COVID-19 change your own personal financial situation or your spending habits?
I've only had a personal finance situation in like after COVID, so I wouldn't know. I've also only had spending habits after COVID, after I got a job and learned to handle my own money and handle myself. So to be honest, I wouldn't know, but I think that I should be more careful in my financial habits, yeah.
Okay, I understand. So you're saying that we were too young when the pandemic happened, so like we are not that independent yet.
Yeah, so I can't see a difference between before and after.
Alright, okay, fair enough. So the last question, in what ways do you feel the economic challenges of 2023 have affected local businesses and employment opportunities in Malaysia?
So in conclusion, I feel like the economic challenges posed of 2023, if we're talking about COVID, it has caused a lot of businesses to close down, but it was a necessary thing to happen as we all had to quarantine, because that was a necessary kind of action to take to combat the virus. And I think that's the same that goes for boycotts. It was a necessary thing that had to happen to be able to overcome this genocide that is happening. But all in all, I think that in the next 5 to 10 years, I hope everything will be back to normal. The economic situation for Malaysia will continue to rise. And I feel that employment opportunities because of these things have gotten down, but hopefully in the next 5 to 10 years, it will get better for us Malaysians. Yeah.
Okay, and these are all the questions. Thank you for doing this interview.
No problem. Thank you for asking.
Good afternoon. Can you please introduce yourself?
Hello, my name is Jiazhen. I am a local franchise owner.
Okay, so as a franchise owner yourself, how do you think the franchise owners in Malaysia and other places around the world deal with the effects of global boycotts?
I will diversify my markets, seeking growth in regions less affected by the boycott. And I will also implement marketing campaigns to improve our brand image and engage in corporate social responsibility initiatives to rebuild trust with consumers.
Okay, so how has the boycott impacted employment opportunities for young people in Malaysia, and what measures can companies take to support affected job seekers?
I think boycotts can lead to job cuts in sectors like retail and hospitality, impacting young job seekers. I think that companies can support these individuals through job fairs, career counseling, and creating more flexible job roles to accommodate their evolving job market.
Proceed to the next question regarding to the Palestine and Israel war. How do you think the Prime Minister's strong pro-Hamas stance will affect public opinion within Malaysia, particularly among non-Muslims and liberals?
I think this stance may lead to a divide with non-Muslims and liberals, potentially feeling marginalized or concerned about the international image of Malaysia. I think it could also provoke debates on religious and political alignment within the country.
So how does the younger generations of Malaysians perceive the government's position on the Israel-Palestine conflict in your opinion?
I think the younger generations may view the government's stance through a critical lens, influenced by global media and a desire for progressive and humanitarian approaches. These may advocate for peace and more neutral stance, reflecting a broader globalized perspective.
By your own experience, how do the business communities and people in Malaysia generally feel about the potential economic effects of the tense relationship between the US and Malaysia due to the Palestine and Israel war?
Business communities are likely worried about the impact on trade agreements, foreign investments, and economic stability. There may be a push for diversification of trade partners and seeking new markets to mitigate reliance on US relations.
Okay, thank you. So we now proceed to the next topic regarding to the pandemic. In your opinion, how effectively have local and national governments responded to the economic challenges posed by the pandemic?
In my opinion, governments have responded with various degrees of success by implementing stimulus packages and support for affected sectors. However, challenges remain in addressing long-term economic recovery, ensuring equitable distribution of aid, and supporting small businesses.
So what measures do you think should be taken to better prepare and respond to future global crises based on the experiences from the COVID-19 pandemic?
Governments should develop robust public health infrastructures, enhance social safety nets, invest in research and development for crisis response, and ensure transparent and swift communication during crisis.
So how has the cost of living in Malaysia changed in recent years by your observation, and what factors do you believe are contributing to these changes?
I think that the cost of living has increased due to factors like urbanization, increased demand for housing, fluctuating global oil prices, and changes in government subsidies. Economic policies and global supply chain disruptions also play significant roles.
So, by your own experience, how has the coronavirus pandemic changed your own personal financial situations and spending habits over the past few years?
I have shifted towards a more lesser spending towards non-essential items, and also focus more on my financial planning, investment, and health insurance.
Okay, thank you. So basically, you are saying that you started to save more of your savings due to the pandemic.
Yes, correct.
Okay, thank you. So proceed to the last question. In what ways do you feel the economic challenges of 2023 have affected local businesses and employment opportunities in Malaysia?
Local businesses have faced higher operational costs and supply chain disruptions, leading to downsizing and reduce in hiring. This has resulted in fewer job openings, increased competition for available roles, and a push for innovation and digital transformation among businesses.
Okay, that's it for me. Thank you very much for taking your time.
Thank you very much.
Hi, good afternoon. Can you please introduce yourself?
My name is Emily.
Okay, so we proceed to the first question. How do franchise owners in Malaysia and other places around the world deal with the effects of global boycotts?
Franchise owners dealing with global boycott often adjust their strategies to lessen the impact. They might focus on local marketing efforts, adjust their product offering, or find new supplies to maintain operation and customer interest.
So what do you think about the boycott? How has the boycott impacted the employment opportunities for young people in Malaysia, and what measures can companies take to support affected job seekers?
I think boycott can lead to fewer job opportunities for young people as businesses might slow down or close. To help, companies can provide training programs, internships, or job placement services to support young job seekers.
How do you think about the Prime Minister's strong pro-Hamas stance will affect the public's opinion within Malaysia, particularly among non-Muslims and liberals?
The Prime Minister's strong support for Hamas might cause some non-Muslim and liberals to feel uncomfortable or critical of his stand. This could lead to divisions in public opinion and affect how different groups view the government.
So how does the younger generation, in your opinion, how do they think to perceive the government's position on the Israel and Palestine conflict?
Many young Malaysians might see the government's position on the Israel-Palestine conflict as outdated or too conservative, and they might prefer a more balanced or progressive approach to international issue.
So how do you think about the business communities and people in Malaysia generally feel about the potential economic effects of tense relationship between the US and Malaysia due to the Palestine and Israel conflict?
The potential economic effects of strained relations between the US and Malaysia worry many in the business community. They fear it could hurt trade and investment, affecting the overall economy.
So we move on to the next topic regarding to COVID-19 and the pandemics. In your opinion, how effectively have local and national governments responded to the economic challenges posed by the pandemic?
Government has responded to the pandemic with various support measures, such as financial aid and stimulus packages. However, there is a need for more targeted and effective help to address specific challenges and support recovery.
So what measures do you think should be taken to better prepare and respond to future global crises based on the experiences from COVID-19 pandemic?
To better prepare for future global crises, it's important to develop strong crisis response plans, invest in health infrastructure, and create robust economic safety nets to support individuals and businesses during tough time.
So based on your own experience, how has the cost of living in Malaysia changed in recent years, and what factors do you believe are contributing to these changes?
The cost of living in Malaysia has been increasing due to factors like inflation, rising housing costs, and higher prices for goods and services. This change makes everyday expenses more challenging for many people.
So how has the coronavirus pandemic changed your own personal financial situation and spending habits over the past few years?
The coronavirus pandemic has changed personal financial situations, leading many to save more and spend less due to economic uncertainty and the needs to be cautious with monies.
Okay, so in what ways do you feel the economic challenges of 2023 have affected local businesses and employment opportunities in Malaysia?
The economic challenges in 2023 have put pressure on local businesses and reduced job opportunities. Businesses are struggling to recover and job seekers are finding it harder to find employment.
Okay, that's it for us, and thank you for taking the time.
Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon. May I get your name?
Yeah, my name is Firdaus.
Okay, so I'm going to start with the first question. How do franchise owners in Malaysia and other places around the world deal with the effects of global boycotts?
I think franchise owners in Malaysia, right, and other countries often deal with the effects of global boycotts by focusing on local markets and adapting their marketing strategies. They may emphasize the independence of local operations from the broader brands, offer promotions to retain customer loyalty, and engage in community support initiatives to foster goodwill. In some instances, they may also rebrand or distance themselves from controversial aspects associated with the global brand.
Okay, so how do you think the boycott has impacted employment opportunities for the young people in Malaysia, and what measures can the companies take to support those affected job seekers?
I think the boycott has affected employment opportunities, particularly in industries heavily reliant on international trade or specific brands. In Malaysia, such boycotts may lead to job losses or reduced hiring in affected sectors. Companies can support affected job seekers by providing retraining programs, career counseling, and creating alternative employment opportunities within their local operations or through partnerships with other businesses.
Okay, so we proceed to the third question. How do you think the Prime Minister's strong pro-Hamas stance will affect public opinion within Malaysia, particularly among non-Muslims and liberals?
I think the minister's strong pro-Hamas stance can polarize public opinion within Malaysia, as among non-Muslims and liberals, there may be concerns about alignment with a controversial group, potentially leading to dissatisfaction or calls for more balanced foreign policy. Conversely, segments of the Muslim population may support this stance due to shared sentiments on the Israel-Palestine issue.
So, how does the younger generation in Malaysians perceive the government's position on the Israel-Palestine conflict?
I think the younger Malaysians may have diverse views on the government's position on the conflict. While some may support the government's stance due to religious or cultural reasons, others maybe will have more liberal or global perspectives, may advocate for a more neutral or human rights focused approach.
So about the Israel and Palestine conflict, how do you think the economics in Malaysia, how do you think about the relationship between the US and Malaysia regarding to the potential economic effects?
The business community in Malaysia generally monitors the relationship between the US and Malaysia closely, as it can impact trade, investment, and economic stability. Concerns may arise over potential sanctions, reduced market access, or disruptions in supply chains. However, some businesses might also see opportunities in diverse trade partnerships and reducing reliance on the US market.
Okay, so now we move on to another topic regarding to post-pandemic economic environment in Malaysia. In your opinion, how effectively have local and national governments responded to the economic changes and challenges posed by the pandemic?
I think the effectiveness of local and national governments in responding to economic challenges during the pandemic has been quite mixed, because while some initiatives like financial aid packages and economic stimulus measures help mitigate the impact, there have been criticisms over the speed and distribution of assistance, as well as the effectiveness of certain policies.
Based on your previous answer, what measures do you think should be taken to be better prepared and respond to future global crises based on the experiences from the COVID-19 pandemic?
I think countries can strengthen their healthcare systems, build more resilient supply chains, and improve social safety nets. Investing in digital infrastructure, promoting economic diversification, and enhancing international cooperation are also key measures that could help mitigate the impact of similar crises in the future.
So what do you think about the cost of living in Malaysia that changed in recent years, particularly after COVID-19?
The cost of living in Malaysia has risen in recent years due to factors such as inflation, increasing house prices, and higher costs for goods and services. Global economic conditions, changes in tax policies, and fluctuations in exchange rates also contribute to these changes.
Okay, so about the COVID-19, by your own experience, how has the pandemic affect your own financial situation or even your spending habits over the past few years?
The coronavirus pandemic has affected many people's financial situations and spending habits. Some have faced job losses or reduced income, leading to more cautious spending on a focus on essentials. Others may have experienced increased savings due to reduced spending on travel and leisure activities. The pandemic has also accelerated the adoption of online shopping and digital payments.
Okay, so in what way do you feel the economic challenges of 2023 have affected local businesses and employment opportunities in Malaysia?
I think the economic challenges of 2023 have affected local businesses and employment opportunities in Malaysia heavily. Factors such as inflation, global economic uncertainties, and changing consumer behaviors have put pressure on businesses, leading to closures, reduced hiring, and wage stagnation. Small and medium-sized enterprises have been particularly vulnerable, with many struggling to adapt to the evolving market conditions.
Okay, that's it for the interview, and thank you for taking your time.
You're welcome.